Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beg to Differ, the show where we discuss and disagree on two new subjects every episode. I'm Ghostfacer.
And I'm Teacup, and today we'll be discussing Twilight Princess versus Skyward Sword.
Zelda!
Very good Zelda games, but
Yes.
like most things, we do have disagreements on this particular subject.
Yeah, this is I feel like this is a pretty common matchup for Zelda games because they're not like Toon Link games. Like, you don't really hear people comparing Wind Waker to Twilight Princess just because they're so different. I mean, you can, but
But
they're just.
also, they're both on. I think they both originally came out on Wii, right?
That is not correct.
Well,
No, Twilight Princess
Twilight
came out
Princess came
on
out on the game
GameCube?
Cube,
Yeah,
I
I think it was
believe.
GameCube. Yeah, it initially came out on there, but still, though, it was played a lot on the Wii. Like, it definitely is very similar eras of Zelda, so that's kind of why I think they get mashed up so much.
Yeah.
But, I think Twilight Princess is better.
And I'm on Team Skyward Sword. I know I'll get some hate for that. I've heard a lot. I've heard the complaints about it. And
Motion control. What'd you say?
that's the main thing everyone brings up, motion control. Listen, personally, I didn't have a problem with it. I actually liked it.
Oh my god. What
I
kind
I
of monster are you?
listen, I thrive. I thrive on chaos. And I don't care
My
how bad
god.
people think the motion controls are or if they think it makes it worse. I liked it.
I don't understand why there needs to be motion control in a Zelda game. There's a time and place for motion control. Like, if I want to play a motion control game, I'm gonna play Wii Sports. But if I'm playing Zelda, I don't want. It ruins the immersion for me.
Okay, for me, it's the other way around. It immerses me more because I like the idea of the gameplay having to be matched up with your movements. Like when you're swinging the sword, I just.
You mean when you're swinging the fucking Wii remote?
Yes, but it matches up with the sword, and I liked that
Does
certain
it match
enemies.
up? Does it? I had trouble with it.
It matched up for me. It worked just fine. I like that there were enemies where you had to like strike from a certain angle or things like that.
No,
It
I
felt like
hated that.
it felt like you had a sword.
Okay, you must have a
And
wild imagination then, because I felt like a dumbass sitting in my living room going, swinging my little Wii remote around.
whatever, I found it fun. It immersed me. I'm just saying.
All right, I think the motion controls are trash. Actually, let me rephrase. I don't think the motion controls were like super bad. Like, I've played worse motion control games. I did have like the occasional trouble. For some reason, the one where you have to like lift the sword up and then it, like, I don't know, powers up. Do you know what power up
Yeah.
I'm talking about? Yeah, I always had trouble with that one, and it, like, oh my god, I got so mad. But, like, other than that, the motion control's decent, but just again, like, it just, the immersion was ruined for me, just personally. And I feel like this is the divide in with Skyward Sword, is like, some people are like, it all comes down to the motion control. Like, if you liked it, you liked the game. If you didn't like it, you might like the game, but it's just not your favorite because motion control.
Uh, okay, with the like Skyward strikes, I generally didn't have a problem doing them except for the final boss, demise,
The final boss.
because you
That
have to
Yeah.
because there's one section like one phase where you just have to like constantly do that to like hone the lightning he's shooting or whatever.
Right.
That was the only part where I actually did have problem with the motion controls.
Ironic. Trying to finish the game. I never finished Skyward Sword. Probably because
No.
I hated the motion control. Honestly, I don't even think I got a third of the way through it. Because
Oof.
okay, let's just kind of take motion control off the table for a second and just talk about the, like, meat of the game. And I really enjoyed, like, Skyloft and flying around and all the mini quests up there. But I just felt like there was this big it was very lacking once you were on the like surface world.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, it's kind of there's not too much exploring you can do
Mm.
in the surface world apart from like the linear quest lines where
Yeah.
you have to go certain places. Mostly you're only down there to get to a temple or
Right.
to fight the sealed version of Demise. So, I mean, they did have like a couple things that I actually thought were done pretty well. Like I really liked how they handled the desert area and the time shift stones where you could switch between and see how it was back then and then I don't didn't you
No, I
you
don't know
said
if they.
you never got to that area. Okay, well the desert's one of the best places because in the present time it's all decimated, the climate's like too hot and everything it's
Yeah.
been like exploited for resources. But there's these thing called time shift stones where like you hit them and then like it transforms part of the area into how it was in the past when it was like this lush, bountiful land.
Right.
So you're kind of exploring between these two settings
Mm.
using the stones as the interface between them.
Okay.
And so that part I thought was done pretty well. It was interesting. And it's also the part where you get to ride on the little mine carts. There's this
Oh,
whole section.
I've seen the footage of
That
those
part
at
was really
least.
fun too.
Yeah. But I guess that is it's just the formatting is the thing that I get hung up on. Cuz yeah, there are some interesting parts like that, but it's still like it's formatted like each trip to the like surface world is like a temple basically.
Yeah, that
If that
part I
yeah.
will say it is mostly just temple stuff.
Yeah, and that like kind of I don't know. I it just it's such a strange concept for me. And it's like it does I mean, flying around the sky, they try to make it feel very vast and open, but there's it's still there's only so much you can do up there. So it's like the sky is supposed to be your like more the place where you can explore and sort of do stuff. And there's a lot like they put a lot of work into Skyloft and everything.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that. Like I do really like that. But it's still only so big.
Right. Yeah, that is a thing I can agree with that. The Skyloft is nice, but the other islands, for one thing, it takes like a long time to get to them. The
Right.
flying, I like that first, but
It gets
eventually,
annoying.
yeah, I wish there were more of like a teleportation system in place, kind of like what they have with Breath of the Wild,
Right.
but with the Sky Islands.
Right. That's the thing. I guess they put all the distance between the different islands to make it feel like it's bigger, but then it's like I don't you're just seeing cloud the whole time. So it does like
Mm-hmm.
with Twilight Princess, obviously it's still very linear. There's only so much you can do to explore. But I feel like it feels a little bit richer of an experience sometimes when you're riding a Pona around because you're like I mean, you're like on the ground and you're actually like it feels like you're making progress because you're watching the scenery go by rather than just more clouds.
Right. That is one of the things is I feel like Skyward Sword and Wind Waker are kind of similar in terms
Right.
of the exploration because you got like these little islands scattered about, but in
Right.
between it's like a lot of nothingness. I think
Right.
Wind Waker at least did a little bit of a better job,
Yeah.
like making it interactive because you still have to control the direction of the wind,
Yeah.
even if it sometimes gets a little tedious.
I was just
But they
about to
also
say I still prefer Wind Waker's like exploration to the main areas over Skyward Sword.
Yeah, and at least they have like some monsters and stuff in between the
Right.
islands, or
Yeah.
like chests. Like if you go at night, you find glowing things. Like Breath of the Wild, it's a lot of empty space, but in that space, they've also got a bunch of hidden areas that you wouldn't find unless you went out of your way to explore.
Yeah,
And even if you
exactly.
don't want, even if you're not much of an explorer type of person, there's still the option to unlock the teleportation devices, so you don't have to if you don't want to.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that makes it really good is it kind of meets that balance between the people who want to explore and enjoy doing that and the people who'd rather just get from place to place
Right.
quickly.
Get through the like the main story and everything.
But like with Skyward Sword, when you want to explore the islands, you have no choice but to go through the clouds, and in those clouds, my problem is that there's not much happening.
No, it's very boring. It's like at first, yeah, like you said at first, like that the like the changing it up where it's like, oh, instead of Epona, Link has this bird that he fly a giant bird that he flies around, loft wings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at first it is like it's cool. It's nice to change it up a little bit rather than just the normal Epona, although who doesn't love Epona? Like, come on, classic. But then it's just the flying itself that just gets boring, you know? It's like waiting in line. You're just nothing's happening. You're just waiting to get to a certain place.
Right. And it doesn't help like that the scenery itself doesn't really change much either from place
Right.
to place.
That
It's a
that
lot
yeah,
of the
that's
same.
that's kind of the point I was making where it's like Twilight Princess is of course like very similar in that it's very like it's like linear while they still try to make it seem like you're exploring, but it feels a little more rich because you have to like ride a horse around and you're watching yourself get closer to a goal from across
Mhm.
like Hyrule Field, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just have to say, like, I feel like there are more notable, for me, a lot more characters from Twilight Princess stick out in my head. Like, obviously, Skyward Sword has Groose, and he is an icon. Bless
Mhm.
Groose. His character arc is great. But other than, like, other than Groose, there's not a whole ton of characters that like are super prominent to me. And then also aside from, Link and Zelda.
I think you're forgetting about one very important person though.
Impa?
You're him.
Oh, okay, okay. No, that's
That's I
that's
think one of
fair. I was thinking like people on like in Skyloft and everything. But no,
no.
Girahim is a
Yeah,
great villain.
here's the thing. I've noticed that okay, so the weird thing is with Twilight Princess, I kind of remembered the side characters better than the main ones, apart from Midna.
Right.
But then with Skyward Sword, it's the other way around. The
Okay.
side characters I barely remember, but the main players that, actually show up in the cutscenes,
Right.
I remember them really well.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like Skyward Sword definitely broke the format a little bit in that way, whereas Twilight Princess kind of stuck to it because it's always been that like Link has a very, he's just supposed to be the link between the player and the world. So he generally doesn't have a whole lot of
Mhm.
personality or backstory, which is kind of how it was in Twilight Princess. Although I will argue that he had a lot of enriching relationships in Twilight Princess. I really do believe he did, but it still was a little bit closer to the like more Zelda format where he doesn't really have a lot. But Skyward Sword was obviously they tried really hard to kind of break that up with his whole
Yeah,
relationship with Zelda being so seated in like their childhood and growing up together and being so close.
right. Like when it comes to like the main two, Link and Zelda, their personalities definitely stick out more to me in their Skyward Sword counterparts
Right.
in Twilight Princess. Like Zelda in Twilight Princess, that's one of the other things. You don't really see her a whole lot, and
No.
when you do, it's it's like you don't develop any sort of relationship. It's all very formal. It's just, oh,
Yeah.
here's some help with getting rid of the curse. Just go to this place, and then doesn't show up again till the end when Ganon possesses her.
Yeah, but she was pretty badass looking though. Although,
He
okay,
was.
here's something interesting though. I feel like she was a little more you got to do some more interesting things with her because you got to fight Zelda when she was Ganon's puppet, which was like I feel like a really cool segment, a cool boss battle was
Yeah,
fighting Zelda as Ganon's puppet, but then you also get to fight alongside her when she's like riding on a Epona with you.
that okay. Yeah, that's true. I do like whenever they include Zelda in the boss battles. And that's
Yeah,
something that's, I feel, kind of a wasted opportunity with Skyward Sword
I
because the
know.
relationship between Link and Zelda is so central to their storyline in that game. You'd
Right.
think they'd find a way to incorporate her into the final battle, and it's
Yeah,
like the two of them courage and wisdom overcoming this powerful
yeah.
force.
It
It's like the
was
whole origin and everything, and she does
yeah.
nothing. She just like,
It was a lost opportunity because they really just made her the damsel in distress.
yeah,
And it was like, I don't know. It was kind of a bummer because like you said, that actually would have made me like Skyward Sword even more, but they didn't do that. They just which was so strange because especially since in Skyward Sword they nailed in the fact that she was actually highly reincarnated as a human. She had all that power and then it was just, she could have actually been an interesting player and like a fighting mechanic for a boss battle. But it's too bad that they didn't do that.
yeah.
But I mean, like in Twilight Princess, what lacks in Link's relationship with Zelda, I actually kind of almost like it because I don't know, it's nice to like they were chosen by the goddess to carry their different pieces of the Triforce. And it's interesting because a lot of the other games like then make it so it's like they kind of are destined to be together is sort of alluded.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's more interesting that it's not that plot point because it kind of feels like a easy plot point, like he has other relationships that are a lot. I feel like he has more relationships than Skyward Sword Link because Skyward Sword Link, I mean, he has a very close relationship with Zelda, but Twilight Princess Link, I mean, I feel like he has more. Like he develops his friendship with Midna that was like rocky at first, but is like so enriched by the end. Like they are so
Hmm.
close. Obviously, there's his relationship with Ilya, which honestly, I would compare that. I don't like her that much, but I would compare that pretty closely to his relationship with Skyward Sword Zelda. And they're very similar in that they've known each other a long time.
Right.
Obviously, Ilya is like a side character and is not the chosen one, but there are a lot of similarities there. And I mean, Link's relationship with all of the people in that. Okay, what's the town? Ordon?
Yeah.
The sword guy that he was talking to in the first cutscene. I don't. It starts with
Um,
an R.
Russell.
Russell, yeah, and then obviously his adorable little relationship with all the kids and specifically
Yeah,
Colin.
that's.
Like,
I did like that he was kind of like an older brother figure to this group of young children in that game. Because you don't
right?
really see him like interacting with other younger people
No, I feel
in
like
most of the games. He's usually just like kind of alone or doesn't seem to have
yeah,
any friends.
or he's the young kid,
Or yeah, or
like
he
in Wind
is.
Waker.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like there were a lot. Maybe each one wasn't as rich as how they developed Skyward Sword Link's relationship with Zelda, but he had more relationships, which almost was more realistic when you think about
Hmm. Well, I don't know about the realism argument in
it.
a game where he's the chosen one. But
They're
I
always the
see the
chosen
point you're
one.
making.
Yeah. I mean, also, while we're on the subject of Midna, you have to admit Midna is a more likable companion than what's her name, Fee? Or is it
Yeah.
Fi?
Well, I honestly don't know.
Fee Fi Fo.
I've seen
Hold
it
on.
pronounced both ways.
I should look
I
it
say
up.
it fi, but I've heard people say it fee. At this point, I don't even think it matters. I don't. But you're no, I agree with that for sure. Because Midna, I think, is one of the best companion characters Link has had in the franchise. Mostly
Yeah.
because of how it starts off so rocky and she has like no interest in him or his world whatsoever, but then she kind of like learns to actually care about others as it goes
Right.
on and she sees the good things that he and Zelda are doing. That's something I will say
Yeah.
they did very, very well. Most of the companions for Link's games, I feel, don't have their own character arc like that.
No. Oh,
They're
definitely
just
not.
kind of there to help him. Like Navi, she's
Yeah.
just there to help him, and then there's a little bit of her. with her leaving at the end, and that kind of becomes something later. But like
And
when
it's the
in
same
the
thing
game, she's actually
with Phi, which I looked it up and it's supposed to be Phi, like rhyme with sky, apparently, according to Nintendo. So
oh,
there you
all right.
go.
So
But
that
anyways,
means
I feel like
I'm
those are
yeah,
kind of similar where it's like, oh, they're just kind of there along for the ride, and then they'll have some kind of end cutscene or sequence where it's
yeah,
like,
like
oh, I guess I'll kind of miss you.
that's the thing I like is that well, most of the people helping Link are just there to serve him. Midna is a character with self agency. Like she has her own goals and plans and
Right.
motivations.
And initially, they aren't even like aligned necessarily. She's literally like, oh, well, I guess I'll help you with this, but you have to do all this stuff for me. Like, she
hmm
literally says, you'll have to be my slave.
Yeah, pretty much. She
B-
just
yeah. So it's like, yeah, her development is really great. It's just slowly over time, they fight together and they get to know each other. And she specifically says, like, at first, I didn't care what happened to this world. I just
hmm
wanted to save mine. But after spending all the time with you and seeing you and Zelda do all the good, I know we need to save both. And I just, yeah, it's just the character development is done so well because it's like right alongside Link.
hmm Okay, I
What?
know I'm gonna get some flack for saying this,
Oh, God.
but Midna's development in Twilight Princess kind of reminds me of the relationship between Link and Zelda in Spirit Tracks.
My God.
I mean, I
It
know you
always
haven't
comes
played
back
it
to
yet,
Spirit Tracks.
but listen, this whole talk we're having about his companion characters, I feel like that fits in really well with the theme because like yeah, most of the characters that help him tend to lack their own agency or personality. The only ones I can think of that really stood out to me are Midna,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Tattle from Majora's Mask,
Oh, right.
and Zelda from Spirit Tracks.
Mm.
Because the interesting thing about that game is that she's the companion for Link,
Yeah,
but
right.
she's also a main character. I mean, the whole series is named after her. But,
Is it? I hadn't noticed.
um, but she gets some pretty good development in that. And I know a lot of people don't like that game for a number of reasons, but
It sucks.
no,
We can't get into that. That's another
yeah,
episode.
that's gonna be another topic. But just a little point I want to drop
Okay, whatever
is
you
that
say.
I think she's one of the best Zeldas in the franchise. Despite
Okay.
the game's flaws, she's a really well developed companion character and just main character in that game.
Right. You know, I'm I know the argument a lot of the time is that like Skyward Sword Link has so much more emotion than Twilight Princess Link. But honestly, like watching all the cutscenes from both games to like refresh myself, I feel like they're pretty equal because the way that Skyward Sword Link reacts to Zelda being gone and having to um go after her and save her. There's so much determination. But Twilight Princess Link displays like pretty much the same reaction and emotions to like multiple people in the game. First of all, Ilia, when she gets grabbed by the friggin' I don't know what those monsters are called. But then even later when things happen to Midna, he does like the same thing. And I think trying to think of a specific cutscene. I mean, he does react similarly to like defending the kids of Oradon, but I just wanted to make that point. I really don't understand the argument that like Twilight Princess Link doesn't have as much character depth with other characters and emotion because I feel like he has like a good amount. At least not more than Skyward Sword, but pretty equal.
Mm, I don't know, cause I'm like thinking about it. I still would have to say that I think Skyward Sword is just okay. The thing is, maybe it has partly to do with the art style too.
Yeah, I was about to say they definitely I do understand that Skyward Sword Link his facial expressions
Like, he's more
animate more.
expressive, like, visually,
Yeah,
I think is the thing.
right. I definitely agree with that. I just think action-wise, they're very much the same in how they react. I just think that Twilight Princess Link, the way he was designed and written, he doesn't as much have those um he, like facial expressions. They're just more subtle, and you could even argue that that's just how they designed the game. They didn't it was, I don't know, not as cartoony, so they didn't want
Mhm.
to make his expressions so animated. But I feel like actions speak as loud as, I guess, facial expressions. I'm not going to say words cuz he doesn't say words in the first place, really.
Yeah.
Um but I feel like those, I wanted to bring that up because people are always so focused on the facial expressions. They don't focus on the fact that he like does the same thing where he runs to save people. Like I can compare specific scenes where he runs.
Yeah. Or, like, when Midna comes back at the very end,
Yeah. And he
and
runs up
when
the
he
hill.
runs to her no, he does just leave Zelda behind and just
Yeah.
runs.
And I like that. It's so weird. I know people like don't like their relationship, but I like that it's almost like they're coworkers. Like they're not mean to each other, but they just work together. They just work together to be parts of the Triforce. And for some reason I find that really funny and interesting.
Yeah. I guess it is nice, like, just to kind of make it a little
Change it
bit
up.
different. And it
Yeah.
also, like, opens up the way for him to get more of a relationship with Midna instead. Because I feel like if they had focused too much on developing a relationship with Zelda, Midna would have been put more on the sidelines,
Right.
and I wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah, me either. Cause she's such a, I don't know, she's such a full character. But like two scenes that like particularly I was thinking are, they're just so similar. So in Skyward Sword, when Zelda is like decides I don't remember exactly what she's doing, but she has to go like in the chrysalis thing and like has
Hmm.
to keep Demise locked away for 100 years. And she kind of does that, and Link like runs up to stop her, but it's too late. She's already like in the thing. That's literally like the same thing as in Twilight Princess when, okay, I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. So like after he did Puppet Zelda and Link defeated him, and then even after Link defeated him as Beast Ganon, he still kind of popped back up. And Midna was like, "All right, I'm gonna mess this fool up." She got her like little thingies popped out, the like
Few shadows.
fused shadows, and they're floating around her. And she didn't even say anything, but Link knew what she was gonna do, and he like reached
Yeah.
out to stop her, and she teleported him away. So I felt like those scenes were so similar
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
in terms of like someone he cares about making a sacrifice,
Right.
and his
The only
reaction is
thing
to stop them.
the only thing that bothers me though is that when they reappear in Hyrule Field and then Ganon shows up, you can see him like crushing
Yeah,
the Pew Shadow
yeah,
under his foot, and so it's implied that he killed Midna.
right.
But like I feel like Link didn't have as strong of a reaction to that. He like drew his sword and looked like he was gonna like go after him, but
I think he looked pissed.
Zelda just like touches him on the arm and then he's like, "Oh, okay. Guess I'll calm down."
Listen, this is what I'm saying. They're co-workers, man. That was like a signal that was like, we gotta take this. That's why I like their relationship so much, is because like it's like they just know what to do because this is their job.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, all right, gotta take this asshole down. But I feel like it's pretty obvious. Twilight Princess Link is a little more of a hard ass than
Hmm.
Skyward Sword Link. So I think Skyward Sword Link, his reaction was more like sadness, but also it was different circumstances. It wasn't that Zelda just got killed. Obviously, it was her choice and like to do this thing, and she wasn't really dead. It was just kind of sad. But Twilight Princess Link, she like sacrificed. Midna sacrificed herself, and then she like is dead now. So rather, I mean, you're not gonna break down and cry. Instead, his reaction, partially because his personality is a little different. I think they're very different iterations of Link.
Yeah.
His reaction is like anger and like, I gotta take down this guy now. Determination, I guess. So that's what I argue for that. And obviously we see how much he cares about her when he runs up the fucking hill, man. Like, that slow where he takes a couple steps and then builds up his face. Come on!
Yeah.
Come on!
That does get you in the feels.
God, rips my heart out. I do want to... One thing that I also liked about Twilight Princess was this sort of... They could have developed a little more, but I liked the relationship between Midna and Zelda. That kind of like build up, like it became a friendship. In the first scene they had together, Midna was basically like, "Screw you, Zelda, or you Twilight Princess." But like after Zelda kind of sacrifices her, I don't know, magical energy to save Midna, and then, you know, it's like they become friends. And at the end of the game, when Midna regains her true form, and Zelda says that line about them being two halves to the same coin, it really does feel like they are.
Yeah.
I do like the soul
that,
leaders.
That they developed a relationship with each other as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
But I think what I liked better was the relationship between Zelda and Impa in Skyward Sword. I think they did a pretty good job with that too, because it's kind of similar in that at first. Well, they didn't have
where they kind of part ways,
but
yeah,
like
I get what you're saying.
At first, they were more like neutral towards each other. Like Impa is just kind of there protecting her to do her job. But then, like, they seem to develop a genuine bond, and then there's that scene at the end where Zelda gives her the bracelet when they're parting ways, and then they meet again in the future and realize.
And then she just Thanos snaps away.
I'm like,
that was so weird. She didn't even say
understand.
She didn't even say like, I'm gonna die now. She was just like, I told you we'd meet again, but just for 1 second, and now I'm dead.
He waited 100 years just to drop that bomb, and then
literally, and then they all just stood there and they were like, who wrote this?
But you know what I actually like even better than the relationship between Impa and Zelda is the cute friendship that Groose develops with old women.
Oh my god, I was just about to say I love that so much. He's like, somebody has to stay back here and look after the old girl. It's so adorable.
I know, and they kind of become friends because I assume like when he goes down to the surface, all he's doing is just hanging out around the temple with her. And
listen, I'm confused. Does he go back up into the sky? Because for some reason my brain, I don't know, at least when I first played the game, I was like, so bro fell down here and he's just staying down here this whole time?
I honestly think he did, like, because, I mean, building that cannon thing, the Groosinator, building the Groosinator must have taken some time. I'm guessing he just stayed down there and did that in the temple the whole time we were out adventuring.
I just, like, wasn't everybody in Skyloft like, where did Groose go?
That's the funny thing.
Guess he's just dead now.
Like, oh well, guess he's gone.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I do have to... That one scene where Groose follows Link down is just the funniest thing ever.
I love it so much.
That's the most emotion any Link has ever showed when he looks back and sees him and goes, ah!
Groose just, in general.
Another really great character arc.
Mm-hmm.
He's just, like, I said this yesterday when we were talking, he's the perfect embodiment. He's the ideal Zelda character, where it's like, you know, he has a character arc, but he's still, you know, quirky and interesting, and he has gray hair.
Nice hair.
Literally. Yeah, nice hair. But there are so many just, like, really cool characters from Twilight Princess. I mean, let's talk about one of the best Zelda side characters ever. Mallow. I'm sorry, but that kid is the funniest fucking character ever. He literally looks like a baby, but he's obviously not because he talks perfectly fine. He buys a shop. He says all these savage things to Link, just like out of nowhere. I gotta look up some of the lines now because they're so funny.
It is really funny. I have to say, I do appreciate Mallow a lot. And his Mallow Mart theme has...
Oh yeah, I was just about to say, the Mallow Mart theme slaps because it is so chaotic.
Mm-hmm. it's like changed the face of the franchise. We would not be the same without Malomart.
And the way he just like exploits Link for money.
That's the best part is when you do all of his quests to unlock that stupid armor where you have to keep paying it for it to even work.
Oh my god, literally. Like he's literally a scam artist.
It's so just like paired with the face and his short stature, it makes it so funny.
Yeah, the way he looks like a baby, but then is literally just a con artist. It's so funny. And of course, there's also Agatha.
She's an interesting character.
Yeah.
The thing is, at the time I was playing, I didn't like her that much.
Right.
Because I got tired of giving her all my bugs.
Why?
Yeah, she was so... Okay, you know how Breath of the Wild Beetle is always asking you...
Right. And you get annoyed. Like you're like, no, I'm not gonna give you my beetle, you asshole.
It felt like that. The way she was just always so insistent. Like, it's...
Okay, I get you.
Like, it is pretty funny. But then, like, eventually I'm just like, I don't want to deal with her anymore. I'm tired of it.
Well, I mean, Mallow says, time is money. If you're done shopping, then quit wasting both.
Oh no. I'm on the Zelda wiki and they have a couple of his quotes. Oh my gosh. So I'm assuming he said this to Link when they were asking him. You know how they like go at the beginning of the game and they're like, "Oh, show us these moves and stuff or whatever." Right. I think this is a response to him if you like wait too long.
Yeah.
It says, "Get off your high horse, just show us."
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, unless your idea of fun is throwing arrows directly into the garbage, you should try out the Hawkeye in my shop. Trust me, you need it.
See what I'm saying? He's a item that helps you see better.
But something else that I wanted to bring up was just like comparing Girahim and Zant as villains.
Oh my god,
I know your thoughts.
I like both. I think Girahim is such an interesting villain because he's just so, it's a good word, flamboyant right from the get-go. He's just so, he just sticks out so much and he's such an interesting character. He's the villain that you love to hate. Whereas Zant is like, I don't know, what, 2/3 of the game maybe longer even. He's just this sort of menacing guy that you don't really know a lot about, and then you get to the end and do his like boss battles and he's just like a freaking crackhead, like he's like contorting, and it turns out he's literally just like a child, and when the Twilight wouldn't like make him king, he just went and cried somewhere, and then Ganon was like, I give you my power. Like literally, he was just sobbing. Like he's such a little wiener. The sounds he makes, they're so weird. So I like both. They're probably like my favorite Zelda villains. Both of them are up in the top 5.
They are both really good
because they're very different but so interesting.
I'd say personally, I have a little bit more of a preference for Girahim than Zant.
I was about to, I agree.
But I still think they're both really good.
Yeah, I think they're both like a good change of tone. What about Demise though? What do you think about that whole thing?
I feel like he didn't get a whole lot of development.
Yeah.
He's just like this all-powerful demon lord that like says the curse.
It was kind of
starts the whole cycle, but
you don't really know too honestly.
Much. Yeah, you don't. I feel like you don't learn a whole lot about him. Like,
no,
why is he so dead set on going after these specific people? Like, why is he? Like,
he just wants power. I hate that in like villains sometimes, where they're just like, I just want power. I must rule the world. Like, and there's no backstory.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd have like maybe a little bit of a history with the goddesses,
right,
or something, or like there being like a turning point where it's like this is the point at which they become enemies. Like maybe before they had some kind of relationship and it just didn't end up working out, maybe due to his own greed or malice or whatever. But we don't really know why he's so opposed to the
No.
goddesses or what he has against them.
Does he say
I mean, yeah,
something?
it's basically like you said, it's just for the sake of power, and that seems to be about it.
Right. I'm trying to remember. Is there anything in this like end manga in Hyrule? Because it's like a prequel. It
Right.
has Demise in it, right? No, it's pretty much the same. Just wants to be evil for no reason.
Yeah.
Cool beans, bro.
Like at least with Ganondorf, we
Yeah.
have some
There's
development.
there's some sort of story there.
Like there's like it's implied he's kind of got this envy because um Hyrule has always been in a better position for wealth than
Yeah.
the places he's been from.
Right.
Or
Right.
he just kind of has this general jealousy of the royal family, and that's like
Right.
part of the reason why he wants to
There's
go after them.
there's always some sort of backstory to him, like him being like a king of thieves or whatever. Still not great. Honestly, Ganondorf is
Yeah,
such a boring villain. He's just like so overdone because he's
right.
just evil for no reason. Which now that I think about it, that's kind of a weak spot of Breath of the Wild. They didn't even
Yeah, I was
try
just
to
about
give
to
him
say, at this point, he's not even like a character. He's just the
no.
embodiment
He's just
of
evil
evil.
incarnate. And
He's
that's
just
kind of
like you're no longer fighting a
lazy
person.
almost. Yeah.
You're just fighting like actual like literal evil. You're just fighting evil.
Yeah. Which I guess is I don't know, I guess it's an interesting change, but
I don't know. I feel like it kind of erases Ganondorf though as a character.
I
Maybe I
know.
mean who knows with like the sequel that's gonna come out. Maybe they go more into that because you do see
Right,
like
you see
his
like
mummified remains.
yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be Ganon or like I would think maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
so excited for the new
I am
game.
too. Yeah. So I'm hoping they like go more into that, or maybe like why there was that change, so that he's not even like a physical thing anymore.
Right.
He's just malice.
Yeah, he's just pure evil. There's nothing like he's literally doesn't even have a physical body. It's not even like, oh, he's just there's nothing good in him. He's pure evil. Like, bro, literally is just like a giant spirit of evil.
Yeah. Just this big evil goop. This the evil soup you have to fight.
Evil soup. Gross. I feel like I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure which which temples I prefer. Because obviously we talked about the temples in Skyward Sword are basically just the overworld.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I am on Team Skyward Sword,
I
and
know
so
you are.
do have to say
Yeah.
I prefer the temples of Skyward Sword. I think they had better gimmicks, I guess would be the word. I don't know. I mean, because generally each temple has like a theme already. Like usually
Right.
got like your forest temple, your fire
The
temples,
water temple.
water
Yeah.
temples,
And
and like Twilight Princess has all those, you
yeah,
know.
sticks to
But
it.
like with Skyward Sword, apart from it just being like in a specific region, they kind of each have like their own things going on as well. Like I mentioned the time shift stones in the desert. I thought that was like a really nice twist.
Right.
Or with the Elden Volcano, before you even start the temple, there's like this whole other thing where like you get all your stuff stolen and you have to get that back first before you can
Oh.
progress. And that was really fun because it's also a moment where like you're separated from Fi, and so you don't get her help for a while. And apart from the stuff you do before the temples, like within them themselves, you've got like the little. I remember the like puzzle doors where you had to like find the pieces for it,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
just the design of them, I liked a lot. I especially like the design of one of the last ones you go to, where it's very morbid because you see like it's kind of like fleshy, like you're
Ew.
and like it's full of like cursed bokoblins, and so they're all like dead. But it's based on, but you can see it has like some mythological parallels. There's all I forget the name of that specific temple, but it has all the lotus flowers
Mm-hmm.
and the spider string you're climbing up, and it's just like the design seems very inspired. Like they're definitely drawing inspiration from a few things when they were making that. But then with Twilight Princess, I felt that the temples were a little more generic.
Most of them, I would say one that sticks out is what's it called? The Arbiter's Ground.
Yeah, that's the one exception because I
Yeah.
do like when you go on the rails using I
Yeah,
forget
that
what it's called, the little spinny thing.
yeah, that and all the monsters in there were like freaky. If I'm remembering correctly, that's where all those like creepy guys were, right?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. There were
I,
some weird
I do
enemies in there.
remember like the spirits or like the ghosts where you have to like you can only see them as a wolf. That part was
Oh
interesting.
my gosh! How have we not talked about Wolf Link yet? I mean,
Oh,
come
that's right.
on, Wolf Link. That's
Okay,
like one of the coolest Zelda things ever.
yeah, it is really cool. I do like being able to run around as a wolf link,
It's so much
and
fun.
yeah, that's nice. The one issue I would say is that the Twilight zones where you're like stuck as being him.
Hmm.
I wish there were like more you could do besides just finding the bugs. Like, oh, just collect all these things so you can go
Right.
back to being human for the next temple. Like, I wish there were like they incorporated more things, more gameplay with him as a wolf. I mean, you do get to use him a little bit after you get the option to like really switch between the
Yeah, I was
two.
about to say it is fun later when you're able to like.
But like before then, it does drag on a little bit.
Wolf Link is it's so fun, and it's Wolf Link, but everybody in the game they just look at him and they're like, a beast, and I'm like, he's literally a wolf. Like what? A beast suggests something that's not like an animal that is recognizable, you know?
hmm Yeah, that's the weird. And like when he tries. Okay, one segment I did really like from Twilight Princess when he tries to go back to the village to get the sword and shield, but he's
Right.
he's still a wolf.
All
But
right,
everyone
and
just
I'll
straight up attacks him. Like,
yeah,
okay,
but
this could
then
just be a wild animal, and you're just like treating him like he's some monster, which is
yeah,
really sad. Um, for him, I guess, to be attacked by the
right.
people he knows. But
And
it's,
guys, he has an earring. It,
you
even
don't
in
notice all the weird markings on his head.
like obviously, come on, guys, it's Link. But another fun thing about Wolf Link is you get to talk to all the animals.
Yeah, that
That's
too.
pretty fun.
Okay, I love talking to all the cats. All the cats in the Hyrule City and in
God.
the Hidden Village.
Right.
The okay, I do have to say though, the quest where you have to find all the cats. I can't remember if it was for a side quest or part of the main storyline,
Yeah.
but there's a thing where you have to find all the cats that are hiding in the village, and there was one that I just could not find for for like an hour.
Oh my
I had to
god.
look it up. That part did end up frustrating me. It was
Yeah.
probably just like it was probably somewhere obvious, and I was just being stupid.
Yeah.
But I remember hating that, having to do that.
Yeah, I didn't get far enough into Skyward Sword to find any parts that really frustrated me, but I know there were some in Twilight Princess. Like I think I've told you before, but the segment where it's like you have to protect the cart that
Yeah.
Telma and Ilya are taking the like Zora boy who's sick like to Kakariko. I think that's how
hmm
you say it. And you have to like protect it. Oh my I was literally screaming when I was doing that part because I just kept dying over and over, and then it gets set on fire and they just are like, okay, guess I'll die then. Like they don't even try and jump out or anything.
Oh yeah, that part did drag on quite a bit too. Like, and I think the one part where you have to fight King Bolin on the bridge. I remember I specifically had a hard time with that too because they set both
Oh no,
hands
you're
on
right.
fire and you're like jousting
Yeah,
with him.
I also
I
had
just
trouble with
kept
that.
dying over and over. I
Yeah,
hated it. And then I had to listen to the dialogue all the way. I'm like, skip the cutscene. I already heard Alyssa. Just want to kill him.
I know, that was so annoying. I do remember that too. I wasn't like quite as mad, but it was pretty frustrating. And I don't know if this was just like because I like I'm trying to remember because I also didn't beat Twilight Princess, but I got pretty far into Twilight Princess where I got to the Yeti, place. So that's like 2/3 the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, yeah, that isn't. I'll say that place is another one of the dungeons I did like from that game, even though I'm not too big of a fan of the rest of them.
right, yeah, that one was really interesting because it's like you're making soup.
Mm-hmm.
There's yetis, like it's weird, you know. But I don't know if that temple was actually that hard or if it's just because I kept like leaving it for a long time and then coming back and trying to figure out where I left off. But I had trouble with that and then gave up because I couldn't remember how far I'd gotten into the temple. Okay, I have to inform you of something that I bet you haven't heard of that I saw an ad for.
All right.
You know how there's the Skyward Sword HD on the Switch now?
Yeah.
You can turn the motion controls off.
Wait. You. I thought you couldn't. Is
I'm
that a
pretty sure
thing they just announced?
I'm pretty sure I saw something about it. Yeah, it's still playable if you hate motion controls. Right, they had to alter it for people who had a Switch Lite.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Because I remember they were, from what I saw of the trailer, they like they still had some kind of motion control thing going on, but
Right, and I saw that, but and I was like, "Are you kidding me? They could have gotten rid of it, and they didn't." And then I saw that they did. So maybe I need to try playing Skyward Sword again on the
yeah, I
Switch.
wonder if
So
I wonder if people's opinions will change a little more on that without the motion control, because that's
right,
the main thing I hear a lot
yeah, it's the
when people
biggest
complain about
argument.
the game. Yeah,
Definitely. Just because like motion controls in general, people are very like divided on it. It's like either
right,
you
right.
love them or you hate them. And I don't hate motion controls. I hate motion controls for that game. Like there are games where I want to play motion controls. If I'm playing Just Dance, well, let's use motion controls. If I'm playing a Zelda game, I don't want it. Another thing I wanted to bring up about Twilight Princess, Hero Shade. Come
Yes.
on. So
Okay,
cool.
it is really cool. I like because it's implied that he's a past Link that's like
Yeah,
instructing you,
they say that
but
he's the
like
hero of
him,
time.
hmm and having him teaching you like all these secret moves to use, it is really cool.
Yeah, and like
I
Twilight
do
Princess
like.
Link is supposed to be a descendant of him, and I just feel like that's it's such a cool plot point.
It is really, it is really nice. I I kind of because it's implied that like the Zelda series takes place over many thousands of years, and
Mm.
yet you don't really see a whole lot of records of stuff from past games. Like you think like some Link that's aware, oh, I'm in a cycle. Uh, this is gonna happen all over again. I'd better leave something behind for my descendants to maybe help them out. Like you don't like for some reason they don't think to do that. But the hero shade is
Well,
actually like,
they're not really known as thinkers, but
but
yeah,
the hero shade it just seems like so aware. He's like, I'm gonna be here to provide guidance to my descendants,
right,
like
yeah,
I would have once needed on my journey. I mean, he doesn't choose to stay behind. He's like kind of trapped because he regrets not being able to. But it's the fact that he even had the foresight to realize, oh, there are people who are gonna need my guidance, and I haven't
right,
been able to give it. That's like
right.
I find really interesting about him.
The Hyrule Historia says that because this is the part of the timeline where it splits. There's like the adult era and the child era where he returns and like Majora's Mask happens, and that's this one. This is the hero of time that went through Majora's Mask, and Hyrule Historia says he was not remembered as a hero, so he wants to pass down proof of his courage and his like knowledge. So that's why he teaches Twilight Princess Link, who's also his descendant. I think that's really cool too, because that's not a point that's often been like discussed. Is do the links like obviously they're reincarnated and they're kind of the same spirit, but like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the only time where we've like directly heard that a link has descended from the bloodline of another one.
Yeah, or like
Like, am
has
I
any sort
wrong?
of connection.
Right. Like, there really haven't been anything like that, and I feel like that's just so interesting because we never heard that before. Because obviously it isn't like every time a Link has a child, it's another, like, like it is
Hmm.
thousands of years, hundreds of years gaps. So I just, yeah, I really love that plot point.
Yeah, I find that really cool too. It's kind of something I hope they bring up more in future Zelda games. Is like, how do links deal with the fact that they know they have existed in the past and will exist in the future? Like,
Right.
would any of them like try to leave any records behind, or like want to communicate in any way?
Yeah. Are they chill with leaving journals? Because we know they hate, like, they don't like to talk that much. They're soft spoken.
Hmm.
But like, are they also like, I can't write down my inner thoughts as well, you know? I really hope Breath of the Wild 2 we get to learn even more about that iteration of Link because it's just so interesting.
Yeah,
We know his father was a knight, and so that's why he went into knighthood.
yeah, and something else I've just been kind of curious about is they talk about how they originally defeated Calamity 10,000 years in the past.
Right.
They were able to just basically completely wipe him out with the Guardians
Right.
and all this technology. But that like kind of rendered the hero a bit irrelevant because they
Yeah.
were able to wipe him out so easily with all this technology before, the Calamity learned to turn it against them.
Right.
So I'm like, what was going on with the Link of that era? Or was there
Yeah.
even one in the first place? I
We
kind of want
need
to know more.
we need to know. I don't remember where it was decided Breath of the Wild is on the timeline. I mean, MatPat did a theory on it like quite a while back, but I don't
Hmm.
remember if Nintendo officially was like, this is what it is. I feel like they also at one point were like, JK, that timeline means nothing.
Yeah, they kind of said, from what I remember, that Breath of the Wild doesn't belong to any specific timeline. It's just an eventuality that will happen no matter what timeline you're in. Like it's like
So it's
inevitably
like
going to happen.
where the timelines intersect. Interesting. Interesting. I kind of they were like, we're so done with the separate timelines. Let's just bring it all together.
Yeah.
Just so tired of it. Um, but what's interesting is like the first Zelda games are in the timeline of where Ocarina of Time. That's where it splits. They the like OG Zelda games are actually in the timeline where that Link is defeated, the hero of time is defeated.
Hmm.
And I always, I don't know. I feel like Breath of the Wild definitely comes right after, like, in that Zelda timeline because of the, like, remember the chest that you can find with the old, like, um tunic? I don't know what they call
Right.
it. And it's like basically identical to like the designs. Obviously it's pixelated for the first couple Zelda games, but the like sketches for that Link.
Right. Yeah.
So I always find that interesting because I'm like, I bet Breath of the Wild is like has to be somewhere behind that. But I guess if the timelines intersect, how is that even possible with the fucking Great Sea? Like, that doesn't work.
Well, I guess we just have to assume that, like, yeah, I don't know.
Nintendo honestly doesn't give a crap about the timeline. They only made it to like please the fans, and
Yeah.
now it's getting more complicated. And they're like, uh, the timelines intersect. I don't fucking know. Like they
Right.
really could care less. Well, I guess we should probably wrap it up
Hmm.
now. I know we could talk about Zelda all day, and
Yeah,
we will be doing
definitely.
more Zelda episodes. In particular, we're going to we're going to debate our favorite Zelda games. Mine is Breath of the Wild because it's one of the best games made ever, and hers is
Spirit tracks.
Spirit Tracks. The best Zelda game is Spirit
Well,
Tracks.
okay, listen. I don't know about the best Zelda game, but it is my favorite
Okay,
Zelda game.
fine. I don't even know how we're gonna compare those two, but like, okay. Okay.
Or just, I don't know. I guess we could just talk about Zelda in general, but like
Yeah,
why we like those ones in particular.
yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of yeah, kind of talking about the series, but also making little arguments for why our favorite Zelda games are our favorite Zelda games.
Yeah.
And I forgot to talk about this in the beginning of the episode, but sorry everybody. I know said we were going to do bi-weekly, but we got busy with school and Teacup got a little bit sick. It wasn't the Rona.
Yeah.
So promise it wasn't. But so we had to delay a little bit. Sorry about that, guys, but we'll try and keep it a little more regular now. Thanks so much for tuning in to Beg to Differ. We'll be back every other week, hopefully, to bring you more argumentative content.
And please follow us on whatever platform you're listening to.
And check out the links to our socials and our YouTube channels in the show notes. Bye bye!
Yeah.